guys, so today's video is going to be about the Silencing Science Tracker. And this tracker is a joint initiative of the Sabin Center of Climate Change Law and the Climate Science Legal Defense Fund. So this is all on Columbia Law School's website. The way that the events that I'm going to talk about are categorized are by date, action, agency, which means the agency which blocked or agency responsible for the action. So for some of them is the US EPA, the Treasury Department, US Department of Interior, Congress, NASA, other etc. And then the explanation could be things like government censorship, research hindrance, personnel changes, budget cuts, etc. And then scientists affected. Primarily, it's climate scientists, but some say other, which could mean geologists, biologists, chemists, physicists, all those other sciences. But I'm going to be talking to you guys today about the 3 most recent actions that were taken, and then maybe in the future I'll backtrack and do another video on other maybe the most shocking ones that I read or something like that, because these are insane. If you are a science person like me, you definitely find these things interesting. But to me, it's this is literally happening. What makes me mad is, especially with science, it's not it's true or it's not true, or you believe it or you don't. It's whether you believe it or not, this is going to happen, or this is true because we've done several studies or we've done enough research to assume that this is true. And for some reason, when it comes to fads about diets and stuff, when scientists or people claim that it's scientifically backed, all of a sudden, oh, it has to be real. I guess I'll try it. But when it comes to things that are serious, such as the weather and our water, the safety of our water, the safety of our soil or groundwater, anything, people start questioning things. And maybe they start questioning it because they don't know, or they can't try it or check it for themselves. That kind of makes sense, but this is something bigger than one person. And honestly, this type of stuff is, in a way, what makes me want to keep pursuing a career in science, a career in STEM, because I want to be one of the people that helps bring this all to public view, and I want to help make it better, especially within companies. If I could go to a company and help them become more sustainable or more energy efficient or anything like that, I would love that. That would be an amazing opportunity. Please hire me, someone who is doing that. But for now, I will be telling you about the 3 most current events that have happened. And so the first one that I'm going to talk about is one of the scientific studies on water contamination was blocked by the EPA, the White House, and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Of course, the study was prepared by the Department of Health and Human Services for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. Oh, but this acronym is ATSDR. So they examined the health and risks rising from exposure to water contaminated with perfluorooctane sulfonate, PFOs, and perfluorooctanoic acid, which is PFOA. And honestly, I am a science person. This is not my type of science. I am not a chemist. So don't come at me with the not being able to say that, because that is a hard word. But anyways, if you don't know what it is, these chemicals have actually been used in surface protection products such as carpet, clothing treatments, coatings for paper, cardboard and packaging, leather products, industrial suffocants, and other types of additives and coatings. Actually, it could also be in water. especially near factories that manufacture such things. Like when they're washing things away, it's used as a cleaner, so it could go into like the rivers or oceans in that area. So according to the report, a White House staffer had expressed concern about the release of the study causing some type of public relations nightmare. So they set it aside for 3 months and left it unpublished. It had no set date to publish it, and had no set like time or anything to talk about it, talk about the results of the study. And then later, let's see, I don't know if I said this initially, but it was May 14th. So later, May 22nd, the EPA held a summit to discuss water contamination and the risks from PFOs and PFOAs. And the Washington Post reported that journalists from CNN, the Associated Press, and E&E News were prevented from attending the meeting, which included about 200 representatives of regulatory and industry groups. The EPA claimed the event had limited capacity for journalists and that the room had reached capacity. And then AP reporter Ellen Nickmeyer tweeted that the EPA guards grabbed a journalist by the shoulders and shoved them out of the building. However, he refused to identify themselves as the journalists, but they later confirmed that this person was the one who was excluded. And by mid-afternoon, the EPA had reversed its course and permitted them and other excluded journalists to cover the conference's afternoon session. And then later, Prue, I guess, called to apologize. I'm pretty sure it wasn't an accident. I'm pretty sure it wasn't anything other than intentional. But again, I wasn't there, so this is just my own personal opinion. You could have your own. And then the reason this is the most recent one was because on June 20th, 2018, the Department of Health and Human Services Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, I would have only said the acronym, but I doubt you guys remembered it. It's ASTDR, released a draft report of this study into the health effects of PFOs and PFOAs. The report indicated that the chemicals can endanger human health at levels 7 to 10 times lower than EPA previously said were safe. And obviously the report fully has not been out, so we can only speculate. The fact that they were so hesitant to share this information with us and that they're waiting and continuing to silence journalists is they are both trying to discredit us by saying fake news and trying to keep the public focus away from the things that they're doing, because this, maybe because it's scientific words that you may or may not understand, isn't as important to you as other things could be. But in the long run, sorry, I'm trying to say this in a lighter hearted tone, but because this is important, and I think let me just leave it on this note. I think that the fact that they want to silence scientists and keep not publishing our data and keeping the data from being published is just them being scared. Because when it comes to science, we've done the research, we've accounted for all of the percent errors, because in pretty much all research, you are supposed to have one section where you talk about what if this is wrong, or the percent error of your calculations. And maybe that number could be as low as 3%, or it could be as high as 40%. It depends on the study, obviously, but when it comes to things about our health, we should definitely be in the know. We should definitely know what's going into our bodies, our water, our sewers, everything. But obviously, they're trying to take the attention away from them, especially because of everything that Scott Pruitt did. Had to start so many investigations into the things that he used EPA funding for that were not for EPA or science or any type of thing like that. He was basically allocating things, money to his personal expenses, which like, I don't even have to say why that's wrong, but anyways, let us continue to another study that they blocked. This next one is about the release of another health study that was blocked by the EPA. And so Politico reported that senior officials at the Environmental Protection Agency had blocked the release of a scientific study on health hazards posed by formaldehyde. The study reportedly concludes that most Americans inhale enough formaldehyde vapor in the course of daily life to put them at risk of developing leukemia and other alignments. So, according to the report, the study was completed prior to January 2018, but has yet to be publicly released. EPA staffers told Politico that advisors of Administrator Pruitt had opposed its release and were stonewalling every step of the way. Those claims were denied by the EPA spokesperson, who indicated that the agency is continuing to discuss this assessment internally. She further stated that assessments of this type are often the result of needs for particular rulemaking and undergo an extensive interagency process. So for those of you who don't know what formaldehyde is, it's basically a colorless, strong-smelling gas that's used in making building materials and household products. And if people are exposed to formaldehyde, it's usually by inhaling it, or the liquid can be absorbed through the skin. It is normally made in the body. Enzymes in the body break down formaldehyde into formic acid, which can be broken down into carbon dioxide. But according to research, and also this stuff that the stuff that I'm telling you about formaldehyde can be found on the American Cancer Society's website, because formaldehyde can cause cancer. What a shock. So, in one particular study, inhaling formaldehyde at a concentration of 1.9 parts per million for 40 minutes did not increase blood levels of formaldehyde, but several epidemiology studies of people exposed to formaldehyde in the workplace have reported a link between formaldehyde exposure and cancer of the uppermost part of your throat, other types of health problems that it could cause, and this is at levels higher than 0.1 parts per million. So it could also cause watery eyes, burning sensation of the eyes, nose, and throat, coughing, wheezing, nausea, skin irritation, and most of the cancers that form from it are like have to do with like you inhaling it. So like cancer of the nasal sinuses, leukemia. Those are the most extreme and most common, but obviously this study hasn't been released, so we don't know exactly how much we're inhaling. But oh my gosh, let me just also say this: the fact that they don't want to tell us this, and at the same time, like, we don't know how much is actually coming out in the air and how much we're inhaling every day, because they won't release the study. But one of their excuses for not releasing the study was that they needed this to form, their laws. And like I said, you need to publish the study in order to be able to use it. But they're also the same group of people that the EPA being, because it's been run by Scott Pruitt and his climate change denying ass. And they're also trying to remove laws like the Clean Air Act, the Clean Power Plan, all of those things that talk about monitoring the amount of emissions released from factories and from businesses and all of that stuff. So you want to remove protection, or you want to remove all of these like laws that are supposed to protect us and our breathing, or our air, our water. You want us to have clean air, clean water, be able to do that, but you also want to take money from coal companies and natural gas and all of that so that you can make it easier for them to pollute. So therefore, we are less important. I think that is honestly like one of the biggest things, is that they just want to make more money by taking these laws off and then pretending like they actually do care. And again, this is why I'm making this video, because I'm trying to voice this and say it out loud, say it out there. But I think it says a lot that they're taking these two studies and they're telling us a little bit about them, but obviously we don't know the research that went into them. We don't know like how long they researched. All of that stuff is important in order to determine if it's an actual risk. But the fact that they're not even going to publish it in the first place already shows that they know it's a risk, and that they know that there's going to be public outrage, and they're not going to do anything about it because they're taking money from the polluters. This is what Bernie Sanders was trying to prevent. He was trying to get everybody that is funded by coal out of government, because that's special interest. They're just going to keep paying you money to keep saying things. Like, this last one is a public communication by USGS scientists is restricted. And this happened June 21st, 2018. And so the Los Angeles Times reported that a new media protocol issued by the Department of the Interior restricts federal scientists' ability to speak to journalists. According to the report, under the new protocol, scientists at the U.S. Geological Survey, USGS, must obtain approval from the Department of the Interior before agreeing to interview requests from journalists. The protocol permits the Department of the Interior to reject interview requests on scientific matters. So the USGS employees have expressed concern with this new protocol that represents a dramatic change in media policy and will interfere with scientists' ability to speak publicly. However, according to the Department of Interior spokesperson, the characterization that there is any new policy or that it will for some reason target scientists is completely false. What? They're literally silencing the USGS, which is one of, like NASA, USGS, NOAA, like those can all go into one category, and there's a lot more, but I don't want to name them all. But those are like the biggest places where we get most of our information. Like, have you ever wondered how we measure temperature? Like, we don't just have one thermometer out and we look at it and we say these things. We have scanners, we have sonar, we have radar, we have all of these things so that you can fly from point A to point B safely. We have to monitor the weather so that we know what's coming, also for the flights, because you can't take off without like knowing the weather conditions, because it's dangerous. There's so many so many things that science comes in handy for, and so many advancements and things that we've done because of science. Like, how do you think we got fiber optic under the ocean? How do you think we got satellites into outer space? Like, we need research. We need to keep looking and learning more. And the government is literally silencing and saying, if we don't approve, you can't talk to journalists about this. So, what? Oh. It's so sad that like all of this is out of my control. Like, I can't physically like go somewhere and do something because this is all being handled by like people high up in companies and organizations that take years and years to get into. And I'm just starting off my career, so I'm setting my sights for everything. Because as soon as I graduate and I have that piece of paper that says that I am an environmental scientist, I'm going to try to do my best to do as many things with it as possible and let more people know what's happening in the world, because this is what keeps me up at night. It doesn't keep me up at night that I'm an asshole. It keeps me up at night that people don't know that their water is contaminated. It keeps me up at night that the government is trying to silence science. I don't know. Before I get too angry, let me just go to my outro. All right, guys, I really hope that I have taught you something or that I have opened your eyes in some sort of way, because that was intense. And with that note, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so that I know that you guys are watching and that you guys want to keep learning about science, because it's pretty freaking interesting. And also comment below if I should make more videos like this, or if you have any if there was anything that I said that like super shocked you, like you were like, whoa. Anyways, don't forget to hug a tree, and I'm gonna see you guys next time. So peace out.